I believe it was Pat Bev and the defense that the Clippers played on the Suns. Skip, he set the tempo in game 2 because Devin Booker had gone crazy in game 1, 40-point triple-double, his first triple-double of his career, and it happened in game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. And Ty Lue said, you know what, enough of this. Pat Bev, you got this assignment. And if you know what, Skip, they say they call Ty Lue Coach Belichick because of all of his adjustments. Well, I'm going to call him Dom Toretto because he's always tinkering, trying to get more out of his team.
And that would be?
Dom Toretto, you know, Fast and the Furious.
Oh, Fast and Furious.
Yeah, Dom.
I got to get back into it. It's been like 6 years since I saw the last one.
I'm going to see it on Sunday.
Way to go.
And so, Skip, if you think about it, he inserted Terrence Mann. So now he has Terrence Mann and Pat Bev in the backcourt. And they hounded Chris Paul and Devin Booker throughout the game. They outscored them. Well, if you get Patrick Beverley and Reggie Jackson to outscore the backcourt, Skip, the Suns has no chance of winning. Those are your two best players, and they got outscored by guys. Patrick Beverley is not a scorer, but his defense on Devin Booker the last 2 games has been nothing short of sensational. And I thought that set the tone for the way the Clippers were going to play in Zubats. Skip, he had a double-double in the first half. He owned the board. They got opportunity after opportunity that led to a lot of putbacks, and sometimes it led to 3-point shots. I thought that was the difference in the ball game. Terrence Mann, there's something about the third quarter that this young man loves. He goes bonkers in the third quarter, Skip. He didn't take a whole lot of shots in the first half, but in the third quarter, he came up with 10 big points. Now, I don't want to go with Paul George. I thought Paul George played well, not great, Skip, because you should have 27 points if you take 26 shots. But he did rebound the ball well. He did play make. And I thought that third quarter shot, Skip, because the Suns had cut the lead down to 8, and then he hits a 3 from half court that pushes it back to 11, and they really never looked back to that point. But I really thought what happened was with Ty Lue, when he had Terrence Mann and he had Patrick Beverley, to start on that backcourt, and the job that they did on Chris Paul and Devin Booker was unbelievable. Skip, 10 of 40? 10 of 40. Let that sink in. 10. They took 40 shots and only made 10. And that was because of Terrence Mann and Patrick Beverley were sensational. Again, another starting lineup change, Skip. 1 minute, he put Marcus Morris in. Okay, Marcus, I'm sorry, bro. I got to pull you out. Patrick Beverley. Skip, I believe he rested Patrick Beverley. We talk about he rested Kawhi and Paul George. Hell, it looks like now he was resting Patrick Beverley because Patrick Beverley looked better now than he did in the regular season. He was great, made some big-time shots, but his defense has been sensational over the last 2 games. And Phoenix, you got yourself a dogfight now, but I'm going to ride with you.
Yeah, you are. And you're going to go right over the edge of the cliffs. Allow me to start by saying, if you had told me yesterday at this moment, sitting across from each other, that my Clippers, who led the NBA in 3-point shooting percentage, would go 3 for 17 in the first half, and you had told me that my man, Marcus Morris Sr., I ended the show yesterday saying this is going to be your night, but he's fighting some sort of knee issue. Not sure exactly what it is, but it's such a problem, he did not start the game.
No,
and that's very highly unusual because he is, if not the leader, he is a leader of this team, and they all know that they want him at least to start the basketball game.
Right.
So when he didn't start, it signaled to me this is going to be a problem. And he did not look right all night, even though he took 2 3-point shots and made both of them, one early in the fourth quarter, which was, I thought, a pretty big shot.
Yep.
But the point is, if you had told me yesterday he won't even be able to start the game, I'd say, you know what, Shannon, you got me. Ball game. It was a nice run, but say goodnight to these Los Angeles Clippers. If you had told me that the man that we've all called at times playoff Rondo would come in the second quarter with an 8-point Clippers lead and suddenly turn the ball over 3 straight times, do nothing else, add nothing else to the mix, and leave the game with the game tied, blow the 8-point lead, I would have said, good night, Irene.
Right. Yep.
Well, I don't know who Irene is, but I would have said, I'll never see her again, right?
Yep.
because
and you didn't see Rondo again.
I would, and we didn't see Rondo again after that because I know I immediately tweeted, "Get Rondo out of there." This is the guy I lauded and applauded at the trade deadline. I said, "This is the magic move. This is the missing piece to the championship puzzle," and he has not been that guy.
Right.
Maybe he will, knowing Ty Lue. In fact, we're actually giving Belichick too much credit to compare him to Belichick. Yeah. I think he's beyond Belichick. That's just me, because we saw what he did with your Cleveland Cavaliers, LeBron and Kyrie. I just think he has some growing genius about him, where players believe in him, they follow him, and as you know, when it comes to coaching, I don't care if it's the baseball manager or your football coach or the basketball coach.
Right.
The players, if you make a move that's a little off target, that's a little uncharacteristic, that seems a little unorthodox, if the players believe in you, they'll make it work, right? They'll just make it work, because deep down in their psyches, they're saying, he's got to know. He's got to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mike Shanahan called this play. He's got to know that at this moment, right place, right time, I can beat so-and-so to get to so-and-so to win the football game.
Absolutely.
And Elway's saying, this has got to work. Shannon's saying, this has got to work. Okay, well, last night, every move he makes, this has got to work. Well, he yanks Rondo, and now we get back to what started to happen. Patrick Beverley imposed his will on Devin Booker.
He did.
And I'm going to give Book a little bit of a break, because he had to wear that Richard Hamilton mask, and the reports were that he called Richard, "How do I do this?" And Richard's big point to him was, don't let it bother you. Don't mess with it. Just try to ignore it. But he couldn't ignore it because it's hard, because it gets in your way.
It does.
And it makes you sweat more in your face, and it makes you feel like you're suffocated a little bit, and it's not fun to wear it.
I remember, Skip, when I had to first start wearing a shield because I had fractured my orbital, and the doctor said, well, you're going to have to wear this for at least a year to make sure this thing is healed. Skip, the thing is, you get down in your stance, and you're dripping sweat on it. And you're constantly like, man, I can just fogging up because I'm sweating, it's hot. Or when it's cold, Skip, you start to sweat, and it's fogging up again. I'm like, well, damn, how am I supposed to? But you just get to a point where you don't even think about it. It's like you look at a car windshield. You just go play football. Play football. Books don't have to get used to this, Skip.
So now he's got a mask to deal with, and he's got that little man, Patrick Beverley.
That's the mask you need to worry about.
Patrick Beverley. That's the mask, because he's wearing two masks. And the point is, Patrick Beverley is listed at 6'1". Devin Booker is 6'5", so you would think he could rise up, but no, he's having a lot of trouble even getting the ball up to the shooting position, because remember what he did to LeBron at 6'9" on Christmas Day, going back 2 years ago. He's going to get hands on the ball as it's going up, and as Ty said after the game, Ty Lue, he said, he's the master of the rear view block, because you think you've got him beat, and he's going to come over your shoulder and get hands on ball, and he fouled him one time, but he's going to bother you. When you think you've got him beat, you're haunted by, is he coming? Is he going to get me over my shoulder?
Skip, the thing that he does so really well is that he realized that Devin Booker is a right-handed jump shooter. So when he gets beat from behind, he automatically say, you know what? I'm going to go right back to your right side, because you got to bring the ball back here. So I'm going to get a chance to get at it.
And that young man, Terrence Mann, is becoming the man, not just in the third quarter, but defensively. He is not afraid.
Nope.
And it was a 1-2 punch, because he is 6'5". So all of a sudden, Book thinks he's starting to draw a bead on Patrick Beverley. Well, I can get him this way or that way. And all of a sudden, here's Terrence Mann, who plays with extreme energy, just extreme. He's like a bigger Pat Bev without all the trash talk, because he's just a kid who's happy to be here and just playing the game.
Correct.
But Patrick is getting in your head. He's getting literally under your skin. And physically, the Clippers imposed their will. It was just a physical basketball game where Big Zoo outplayed DeAndre Ayton.
He did.
He is not better than DeAndre Ayton.
Nope.
He is not as talented as DeAndre Ayton. Listen, Ayton made a couple shots last night where I just sat back and said, listen, that's too good. You're looking at a potential superstar there. But over the long haul, the guy who was protecting the rim, the guy who was wreaking the most havoc, was Big Zoo, once upon a time, a property of your Los Angeles Lakers. and that was a Magic Johnson special, and I do not believe he should have given him away like that.
Because that's basically what he did. He gave him away.
He did. And last night, what did he wind up with?
15 and 16.
15 and 16. That will work.
And plus 28.
Okay. And the Clippers just figured out how to win a game that we all agreed they had to win. Because if they go down 3-0, I know they do it the hardest way, but that's a way you can't do it.
Right.
You're not going to come back on this Phoenix team with Chris Paul back in the saddle.
Right.
From 3-0 down, I don't think. Maybe I'm even underestimating this Clippers team. But the point is, in the past, we used to say, well, the Clippers do what the Clippers do.
Right.
And it was always ha, ha, ha. It was always ridicule.
Right.
They were the ugly stepchild of Los Angeles living in the basement at Staples. Mm-hmm. Now when I say the Clippers did last night what the Clippers do, now you're starting to think, well, yeah, this is who they are.
Right.
You want to talk about refuse to lose? You want to talk about resilience? Okay, we're not making shots tonight. We'll just D you up.
Thank you.
We will beat you. We'll play a little bit of football, and we will beat you in our house the only way we know how tonight, and that is with our defense.
Right.
And if we could see what happened in the fourth quarter, this is my other big point here. So Paul George makes a shot at the end of the third quarter, and every once in a while you need a little luck.
Yep.
And I know ESPN showed him warming up, shooting half-court shots, but he was trying to swish them, and he was not trying to swish this one, obviously. This is a lucky banker. He made a really nice play to save the ball from going out of bounds.
Well, what he did, Skip, is that he fooled them because they thought he was going to grab it and time start, but he didn't. He faked them out.
He faked them out, and it was a very athletic play along the sideline. And then he rights himself, and he banks it in.
Right.
Well, every once in a while, you need one game-turning play, and yet that puts them back up. See, it was going to be an 8-point game, and you would have thought up in your palatial estate in Bel Air, I got this.
Yep.
8 felt like doable.
Yep.
But 11 starts to feel like, I don't know.
I feel like
maybe it's the Clippers' night, right?
That's exactly what I thought when he hit that shot.
All right, so eventually, early in the fourth quarter, they go up 18 points.
Right.
18. Seriously? They went up 18 points at one point, and here came the Suns. The Suns rose, and all of a sudden, I look up, and off a Devin Booker driving layup, they cut it to 6 points. What happened in the bubble last year? What happened 3 straight times? 3 straight closeout games, up 3-1 on Denver. They're up 16, then they're up 19 in Game 6, and then they're up 12 in Game 7. Blow it, blow it, blow it. Well, if these are the same old Clippers, wouldn't you start to think, they've just unraveled right before your very eyes?
Yep.
And then if we could see what happened after that Devin Booker driving layup, Paul George, who was just flat out running out of gas to me, he just throws the ball away. That's a Paul George. He just missed Reggie Jackson. And I'm saying that's so ugly bad that I said, you know what? This is it. Now you've got the ball back, and the ball is in Devin Booker's hands to cut it to 3. And if we could see what happened next, that's the pass. And here we go. This is to cut it to 3 with 6:45 left. And guess what? Blocked by Patrick Beverley. That's the play of the night. Because let's say he rises and makes that 3, and it's cut to 3. What would you think?
Yep.
Would they not?
They got the
Suns
momentum.
not have him?
Yes.
Yeah. So here's Devin Booker. He goes up to shoot it, and Pat gets it on the way up, and the Clippers recover.
Skip, if you look at this team compared to last year, Skip, there's not a whole lot of difference. Is that they dug in. They buckled down. Where last year they succumbed to the pressure, now they're applying the pressure. Okay.
So now, here's what happens. There's this young man, not so young anymore, named Reggie Jackson.
Reggie.
Mr. June. And I'm going to point something out before I show you what he did in order. But I'm going to point out that in those 3 closeout games in the bubble last year, he barely played. The first game, he played none. Doc chose him not to even play him. And the second one, he got to play 59 seconds at the end of the game in garbage time once it had been lost. In the third game, he played all of 4 minutes, but none in the fourth quarter, the Game 7.
Right.
Okay, so Reggie Jackson, according to Doc Rivers, was no factor last year in those 3 collapses in the bubble. Now he is the man in the fourth quarter, and I think he's becoming the closer.
Right.
What did I always tell you about Kawhi? I never felt like he was a born closer. Paul George kind of comes and goes. We know he's supremely talented, but I don't consider him the closer of this team.
Right.
But Reggie Jackson, is he not fearless?
Right.
So here's what he does. He scores 4 straight baskets, if we could see him in order, to put this game away. Here's the first one on a fast break. He makes that one. And at that point, I'm taking anything. Like, that was a big shot to me to put them back. I think that put them back up 6. And then he makes the big 3, and all of a sudden they're back up 11. And then we kick it back out. And this is going to be ball game right here because that put them up 13. And then just for good measure, one more time, he goes on Cam Johnson. He goes up and under and over. And he goes back up the court going, Cam Johnson is too small. Cam Johnson is 6 feet 8 inches tall. Reggie Jackson is listed at 6 feet 1 inch tall. So it's 6'1" versus 6'8", and he's going up the court going, you're too small to guard me, to Cam Johnson. Whoa, really? That's a new deal for the Los Angeles Clippers. Right. They've never had that kind of swag, that kind
Skip,
of attitude.
When you come with Reggie Jackson credentials, Skip, the Pistons gave him max money. So, okay, they give you max money, they think you're the guy. Doc got him playing mop-up duty. Can you imagine what that did to his confidence? Do you imagine what that did to his psyche? Okay, T. Lue comes in. Bro, we believe in you. We're going to get you into the starting lineup. And now look at him. He's playing like the Reggie Jackson that got that guaranteed, that got that max contract from the Detroit Pistons. Okay. And sometimes, Skip, that's what it takes, is that one coach doesn't believe in you and another coach does, and you're like, I'm going to show you was right to put your trust in me.
Well, you keep bringing him up every day because he just gets playing bigger and bigger, right?
Every game.
Okay, so now we come to my man, Playoff P. Did not have the best night, did not shoot it great, turned it over 6 times.
All in the second half, Skip.
All in the second half, 4 times in the third quarter.
Correct.
Where I was just about to be out of my mind. And yet, I'm going to point this out. As we speak, Paul George has played 129 more minutes than any other player who has played in the playoffs so far. 129 more. He's played 147 minutes more than the second Clipper, who is Mr. June, Reggie Jackson.
Right.
Think about that. 129 more than any other player, 147 more than any Clipper. What does that tell you? It tells you T. Lue is riding that thoroughbred horse who is Paul George.
Right.
He's an all-star.
Right.
He's a first-team all-defense. They do not have Kawhi Leonard. We're going to talk about him a little later in the show. It was a little perplexing to me that he was sitting upstairs watching from a suite with his family and his Uncle Dennis. We'll talk about the why of that in a little bit. But he is gone for the playoffs. And T. Lue knows it, and T. Lue knows, I just got to play Paul.
Right.
But I'm tweeting last night, just give him a couple of minutes.
He
just
can't.
give him a little blow, but he can't.
He can't.
He can't.
You just his presence on the court.
He played 43 more minutes last night, and the only reason it wasn't closer to 48 is because over the last 2 minutes, he finally took him out of the game because it was in hand.
Correct.
Okay, so what numbers do we see from my man, Paul George? We see 27 points. We see 15 rebounds. We see 8 assists. Didn't shoot it well, 9 of 26, 3 of 11 from 3. Right. Free throws, 6 of 7 is not bad. He did make 4 fourth-quarter free throws, and they weren't all that significant, too early and too late.
Correct.
But at least he went to the line and got to feel what it felt like to face up to the demon and make those 4 free throws. Right. And he made them. If you start clanking them for no reason in the fourth quarter, now it's really going to get in your head, a la Ben Simmons. So the point is, I thought he was just flat out running out of gas because the turnovers he was committing were tired turnovers to me, where he just looks like mentally weary. Right. He's trying so hard, he's falling down. Right. He's throwing it out of bounds because he's just gassed. Right. He's exhausted. So I'm not sure how much longer you can ride the thoroughbred without a little bit of rest.
Well, Skip, T. Lue is doing a great job. He's taking him out. He doesn't have to guard Book. He doesn't have to guard CP3. He's putting him on Mikal Bridges, who runs off a lot of screens. He's putting him on Jay Crowder. But those guys are not the offensive firepower. They're not trying to go get buckets. They're trying to spot up and shoot the 3. So Paul George can get a little rest on that end of the court as opposed to chasing Devin Booker, who you know is trying to get points, or CP3. So he's going to have to catch his breath whenever he can because because T. Lue cannot afford to not have him on the court, Skip. He's just a calming effect. Even though he's not doing anything, he's still Paul George, and he's still there.
He's just so gifted. Yes. He's 6'8", and the threes that he made were like big-time shots where you'd say, oh, that's just too good.
Right.
So in the end, I believe that last year under Doc, and I'm still a big Doc fan, but it was going so haywire there was such dissension in the locker room. Remember, it was Montrez and Sweet Lou, and they were all clashing inside. And there was poor chemistry, like awkward chemistry between Kawhi and Paul George to close those games.
Right.
It was always, are you going to do it, or do you want me to try now? Do you want to try to create a shot by yourself? Now at least they have some ball movement. Now it's up to any. They trust Terrence Mann to make a shot.
Reggie Jackson said, "I'll take that shot. Y'all don't want it. I'll take it."
Yeah, well, he'll take it because he is absolutely fearless.
Yes.
And so the point is, to me, their closing chemistry is much better through these playoffs than it was in the last year's playoffs. Now, am I saying they're better off without Kawhi? Well, obviously they're not.
Right.
But their closing chemistry, if you have to somehow bleed out what was had fallen to only a 6-point lead, if you need to protect that and salt it away and get it home, I trust this bunch to do it more than I did last year's.
Right.
Last year's, they would have blown this game, and you would have been in here hooting and hollering all morning.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.